My name is Micah Wells. I work out of our Vancouver, British Columbia office. Currently, I'm in the mining area right now. I've been with Fluor roughly 13 or 14 years or something around these lines, and various business lines, and now I'm finally settled into mining metals at Fluor. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague Max here. He's going to introduce himself, introduce what our company does, so you can get a better feeling for what we have as use cases and the type of, innovation that we look forward to. So
cool, thanks Micah. So Max Eklund, I'm with the Construction and Fabrication Group, going on 21 years with Fluor. Started out building hotels in Las Vegas and performing arts centers, and then got into the oil and gas line, and was up in a project in Canada, and now based out of the Sugar Land office. So who Fluor is? Fluor, a passion to build whatever. So you can see light rail, we've got heavy mining, we do camps, military bases, infrastructure, oil and gas. Clients, multiple, very satisfied clients, global clients around the world. So you can see a passion to build wherever. So we have offices around the world. There isn't a continent that we're not located in, and we just have a recent project in northern.
Yeah, and literally in the Arctic Circle.
Yeah, in the Arctic Circle. So our presence is everywhere. Executive overview. So again, we're an EPFC project, which is engineering, fabrication, procurement, and construction. We're on the Fortune 500 153 list. Thousands of projects annually. 600 clients, 81 countries, 50,000 plus employees, 33 countries on 6 continents. And we started in 1912. Our headquarters is in Dallas. So you can see multiple business lines: energy and chemicals, power, infrastructure, mining and metals, industrial, and government. So we start off with the virtual reality. So with the virtual reality side, safety is often the gateway to introduce new proof of concepts. So with our safety, we've got safety training. This is a common statement that you're probably aware of. Studies show we learn best through experience. Creating safety experiences in the security of a controlled environment increases retention of training materials and lessons. Especially with some of our projects, very safety-minded. Safety is one of Fluor's key.
Life critical.
No, key
values.
Values. I keep saying is one of our key values. We do have a program called Life Critical Areas. And what that is we have 9 key areas: working at height, motorized heavy equipment, motorized motor vehicle operation. You can see the list. We're going to have an example of motorized heavy equipment. So this video basically shows that we're using the HTC Vive. We've got Peter Robar, who's up in our Calgary office, walking through the scenario, and it's going to be running through a scenario on how to use flaggers. So this is just a close-up of the video, so you can hear the direction.
Basic hand signals. This one means move forward. Have a go. Use your hands. Thank you. This one means go backwards. Thank you. This one means stop. Thank you. And here's the most important: emergency stop. Try that one. Great. That's all the signals you need to know for this exercise.
And then it goes through, going through, and then you're transported as the eyes of the spotter. With the headset, you're actually transported in the environment, the big, huge dozers, the big, huge front loaders. You're walking through the scenarios, going through it. And with the spotter, if you make a mistake, it kind of just repeats it until you do it right. So it really it's good training for not only the craft, but also the staff in understanding what that environment's like.
Thanks, Max. Welcome. So really, to take more of a humble approach, and what resonated in some of the keynote speaking that we heard earlier, is we are a big EPFC. That means we have multiple business lines. We're everywhere. We have massive either self-perform or subcontracted contract management jobs that we do around the world. In other words, if you look at some of these, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this. This is more of a profound statement to give you a little bit of an idea of of some of the challenges that we face bringing a lot of this innovation in our company and what that means to us. But really, if you talk about the agriculture and hunting industry, and you look at our industry, in terms of innovation, you know, we're down here. Very low digitization. And what does that necessarily mean to us? Well, a few things really. You know, we're seeing that on a construction site in particular, you have very paper-based, you know, processes. It's antiquated, I guess, at best, if you kind of look at how we do a lot of construction. We've done it very well, we've done it very effectively, but it's also the place where there's going to be the most profound opportunity for this type of technology. Everything from safety to productivity. It's going to enhance how people work on site, bring the visual instruction down to them. You know, this is the things that we view as being a very large impact. So you take a mine site, for instance, where you can have 20,000 employees, shave just 5 minutes of each person's day, shave just an hour of each person's day. It equates to millions and millions of dollars. So we're not trying to take this really big leap in Fluor and to say, you know, listen, 45-year experienced construction manager, I know that you've been doing things the exact same way your entire career, and by the way, here's a pair of glasses. Now you're going to get this augmented view and it's going to change your life. It's not going to work that way. And we understand that. So what we need to do is we need to actually bring that in slowly, look at specific use cases, prove out a business case that's going to work, and then deploy that, right? So a little bit more profoundness here. We do have tens of thousands of paper IFC deliverables on a site. That's it. We engineer things, and then we issue them for construction, and the construction team takes this big stack of paper out. I'm just theoretically speaking, and they go through the paper, and that's where they're getting their instruction. It's not very automated. I mean, we are at that stage. And then 68% of that, this is from a lot of the McKinsey reports. I'm sure you guys have seen this. This is construction industry as a whole. 68% non-productive time, 29% due to waiting around, administrative. So you think like time on tools on a construction site is probably 25% of your day. It's like, well, what the heck are they doing the rest of the day? You know, there's a lot that goes into that. There's logistics, there's everything on some of these remote sites. It's some of the things that we deal with. But we think that we can bring in a solution that's going to at least enhance that. Where the technology is now, we believe we can bring that into the company. And what we're seeing, a lot of proof of concepts that we're running right now, is we are actually saving a lot of time. So we have what I was referring to earlier when I was talking about that 45-year experienced construction manager. We all likely face this in our own industries, but we especially do in construction, and we especially do in engineering, where you're trying to make that cultural shift into innovation. You have that 45-year construction manager, and then you have that new grad. You know, how do we marry those two up? How do we bring it in? How do we introduce innovation and make it effective for both, right? And so this actually came from one of our executives where they were looking at this saying, imagine if you could issue a deliverable in the form of a projection from a hard hat, right? You walk up to a wiring panel and the projection tells you how to pull and terminate a cable. It's possible to do, we just have to start thinking very differently. Well, that makes all kinds of sense. I mean, to be able to do something like this, where you actually put on a HoloLens or some other device, you can see a projection in front of you, you can bring that engineered design information into your glass, project it in front of your construction workspace, and not only are you doing safety training from there, but you're able to actually follow a set of instructions. So that, by becoming more productive, you're becoming safer at the same time. And that's really the philosophy that we try to follow. And you know, of course, you got old Tim Cook here. I think this probably excites all of our vendors, and they're probably very well aware of this. But he believes that augmented reality is the most profound technology of the future, and we do too. It certainly does amplify human performance. So we have this wonderful enhanced integrated solution model within Fluor, where we've looked at a lot of the existing tools. We take an existing tool and we say, how do we bring this technology in? How do we enhance our safety on the project sites? How do we make ourselves more productive? And so one of the first things we looked at was, you know, well, we have all this existing technology on a site. We have iPads, we deploy those. We're relatively automated in most regards in a construction site. How about we move an augmented view of that and we can put it up and we can see our plant site built. We can see a lot of the safety instructions tagged through an iPad. Let's start there. And then we look at some of the features for some of our target markets, what that means. But where we're at right now is we actually have the critical next phase enhancement. And this is something the company as a whole has really adopted. They've been to these conferences, they see what we do, they understand the innovation, and then now they're finding it to be incredibly important. So, exactly, Fluor Executive Management made digitization, bringing in this AR technology, part of our key focus now. So we align with those customers' needs to leverage technological advances and bring execution efficiency to capital projects across all of our business lines. Right?
And then digitization is not just with the AR. We have proven work processes, but it's truly getting that paperwork into the hands of the craft, accessible, real-time, and accurate. So digitization is really taking what we can do that we've done for tens of years and streamline it.
Mm-hmm. And so again, it's very important for us to take that humble approach. It's very important for us to know that by 2020, augmented reality solutions will be adopted across multiple business lines. We understand that. 30% of large enterprises as part of their digital transformation. We understand that. Digitization is very important to us, and so we want to tackle that head on. It may take us longer because we do span those multiple business lines. We do have proprietary data. We have governance issues. We have IT security issues. When you're trying to adopt this technology in, it has to go through a lot of hurdles just to be hosted on our network because we have a lot of proprietary file types that we promise our clients we won't leak elsewhere. So cloud environments pretty much out for the most part, although we're trying to adopt that in. A lot of our solutions are on premises as a result. Right?
Yeah. And it's that phased approach. You prove it for one business line. Now you have to have another audit or going through and prove it for multiple business lines.
So this is our vision. These are a couple images of some of the vendors not necessarily here, but we've currently looked at and are talking to a lot of various vendors as we go through our proof of concept and then ultimately piloting us on a big mining project, looking at how we can overlay the built model on top in an augmented view, through a transparent view, starting with an already existing condition where we have iPads moving straight into a wearables and understanding how that works. So a lot of use cases here. And each one of these, I'm just going to rattle through these, considering the time. But we have a slew of use cases where this technology could be very, very effective. And we're going to focus on just a couple, and that's how we're going to do our proof of concept and prove that this technology is advancing. So civil and underground installation, steelwork, scaffolding, you name it, piping and mechanical, electrical cable trays and instrumentation, heavy lift sequencing, turnover and commissioning, operations and maintenance, safety planning, fabrication module yards, engineering reviews. These are all areas that we're looking at as use cases for this, and we see that. You don't necessarily focus on that return on investment, but you do see a business case for bringing this in and that it will work and that it will enhance how your craft workers on site perform. So very quickly, two of the use cases that we've honed in on, two of the use cases we've developed massive scope of works for that we've sent to vendors that we're trying to understand how our information can be translated into this document. So we have electrical and control systems teams that go out and they set up distributed control systems on just these massive sites, regardless of business line. And one of the things that, frankly speaking, we have an issue with, and this is just industry-wide, there's typically a lot of rework. There's typically a lot of, there can be errors, and that's because everything has traditionally been paper-based. And when it's paper-based and that information's, it may not even be the latest rev, that information's not there, not readily available, that you could have in a wearable or some sort of device, you could potentially make errors. It's what human beings do. And so two of the areas that we're focusing on are cable management and cable terminations. And what we want to be able to do is actually take a wearable, take that engineered design model, put it inside of that wearable so that they can actually reference that as they're terminating on a DCS or as they're running cable. I don't have the exact figures, but I can tell you that what we spend or what our clients probably spend in rework or errors reaches a certain percentage, and it's almost acceptable. They're just like, yeah, probably going to have this. Let's put it in a contingency budget. It's going to be millions of dollars. If we have the ability to come in and almost make it error-proof, by bringing that information visually to them in the latest rev, step-by-step procedures, and bringing those instructions right down to that headset, we could probably cut that number in half or more. And again, that equates to millions and millions of dollars. So you have the ability to really, and a byproduct of that, is safety. If you're able to be productive, if you're able to do the work the right way the first time, especially on a construction site where safety is always paramount, it's, by nature, going to make your work safer. And finally, the cable terminations. We will string up several hundred, potentially thousands of miles worth of cables stringing up a DCS in just a single mine site. So you could imagine if you're not doing work correctly, if it's not being done in sequence, and you have to pull that cable or redo the work, it's time, it's money. Those are the things that we run into. So this is where Fluor is at. We actually have a program, and I think you've probably seen this, that's actually called IntelliSite. It's kind of a coined term that we use in the company that looks at this specifically augmented reality view of how we do the work. Bringing in a common language across all of our disciplines, understanding how the work's done right the first time, reduce time to locate information and materials, real-time progress, hands-free construction, also very critical. There's a lot of devices out there that are, they either take the click, either hit the button, they're either completely hands-free and you use a little reticle design. Either way, it's always going to be safer and more intuitive than carrying a stack of paper, rolling a PIN ID in your pocket, or referencing sheets. You're always going to be in a better situation. And then, as a result, more efficient execution, reduced schedule, improved employee performance and satisfaction, no more paper issued for construction documentation. That's key. That's where we're moving. We're moving into that digitization area. We believe by having that right information at the right time, and if it's accurate, we believe that's going to just not only make them more productive, but as a result, you're going to be able to run a much safer site. You're going to have less rework. You're going to have less errors. And that's where Fluor is at with everything right now.
Fluor's been a pioneer of the advanced work packaging since 2012. So we've been on a lot of the committees up in Canada and the United States, basically creating the practice, the industry-wide practice. But it's still a very manual, paper-based effort. So all this is really going to help streamline that whole effort as well.
Again, thanks. We have a lot to talk about in our company. That was 20 minutes. That was actually 24 minutes. If anybody has any questions or anything after this, please, by all means, find us. We'll be at some of the networking events, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.